WoW, the way it seems like they design these expansions is they focus on the end game content first and then backfill with like stories and quests and stuff like that to like get you to that point where you can enjoy the end game content.
Interesting.
And with like challenging end game content, it gets more people to grind, honestly.
The game, yeah.
Kill the big boss, get the big loot, look at your
Yay.
item level increase and be happy.
It's the Gamesight podcast.
All right, welcome to the end of April episode of the Gamesight podcast. Today we have here with us Anthony Snider. He is our site reliability engineer, and he's also a huge video game player. Let's go, Anthony. Woo!
Woo!
Yeah.
Let's go.
What he's really here for, what we all want to hear about, is World of Warcraft.
Heck yes.
Yeah, from
Heck yes.
Daddy Blizzard. Can you give us a little bit of an introduction of yourself? Yeah, welcome to the podcast. How are you feeling?
Hi. Great. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on here. So hi, I'm Anthony. Like she said, I am a site reliability engineer at Gamesight. I'm responsible for maintaining and improving our cloud infrastructure that both all of our console runs on, all of our backend stuff runs on, and also all of our customers' stuff runs on. It's super fun. It's all kind of backend work back like in the shadows.
Just like if the server's actually down, it's like, oh my god,
freaking out.
Yeah.
Anthony, it's my phone that is actually exploding.
Yeah,
and I'm there to fix it. So that's my job.
Yeah. Did you always want to work in the gaming industry, or like how do you think your gaming background?
Yeah, I've played games literally my entire life. I was probably like 3 or 4 years old, honestly. My uncle was in computer science and built me a computer when I was really young, and I started out playing like Freddy the Fish. And Freddy Fish was the GOAT, absolutely top 5 games of all time. So good. Also,
that is a goated deep cut.
Yeah, Freddy the Fish, Putt Putt, Pajama Sam, stuff like that. I started playing super, super young, and I think I was like 6 or 7 years old. It was like 98 or 99. I'm old, by the way. It was like 98 or 99, and I walked into my uncle's room, and he was playing StarCraft Brood War. And I was like, oh my god, this looks so dope. Like, I want to play this like sci-fi type game. What is this? So he let me play it, and that was my introduction into the Blizzard ecosystem and more serious computer game playing. So it's kind of where my gaming started, and from there just spiraled into, I guess, what it is today. I mean, since I started playing Blizzard games, I was like, oh wow, this is super, super dope. I want to be a game developer one day, but I'm not like artistically creative, and I don't think I'm creative enough to apply my technical skills to like actually developing a game. So I was like, what if I focus on server management and infrastructure and building that kind of stuff for games that are online? Because even back in 2011 when I started college, online games, like, they were around, they existed, but compared to today, like every single game is a cloud game. Every single game that comes out. Honestly, legitimately, if you want to work in the gaming industry, look into DevOps, because DevOps isn't going away anytime soon. Cloud infrastructure is not going away anytime soon. So I guess I called it early and I picked a good path. So yeah, that's what led me here. I love Gamesight. Being able to get a pulse on the entire esports, content creators, all of
what's
the
trending on
video
Twitch.
Game companies, what's trending on Twitch, what's on Twitter.
What are the crazy influencers doing today? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Plus my team, the other part of my team, the data team, literally works with that information every single day. So it's really cool to be able to see all of that.
You have the sauce.
Yeah,
I have the secret sauce.
I have the sauce and beautiful SQL tables. Half of my love for gaming is just the nostalgia impact of it, which I just want to point out right now, WoW hits the nail on the head on. It's still a very nostalgic game, but it's also updated. And I think that's probably why I've played it for 17 years.
Dang, 17 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your WoW career is applying to colleges. Is going to college soon. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. It actually is. Yeah. It's actually it can get a driver's license and That's terrifying to think about. I was before we started recording this, I was gonna log in and do a /played to see how many hours I've put on just my main character, and not even all of my alts and stuff like that. And I was like, I actually don't want to know, because last time I checked, I think just on one character I had 750 days worth of playtime on one
Oh
character.
my god. That like
Yeah.
hurts my brain a little bit to think about.
I know.
That's like over 3 years.
And if you think about like that's
Yeah.
17 years worth of a subscription fee every single month too.
Okay,
It's an
let's just talk
investment.
about WoW. We're already talking about
Yeah,
World of
we
Warcraft,
can do
so
that.
let's just
Do that.
plunge into this. So, full disclosure, I have never played WoW in my life.
Terrible. I mean, I don't blame you. I see. Whenever somebody says they haven't played WoW, I don't blame them because it is a deep, deep, deep dive.
So you're like Yoda right now, and I'm like
Luke
I'm
or Ray or
I'm the 6-year-old you that saw StarCraft. That's like where I'm at.
That's
I like
fair.
StarCraft.
Okay.
So like I think I was a little bit too young to really have been aware of what was going on. So it was like Blizzard released StarCraft and then they
Yes.
released World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah, so the timeline goes like I think there's a few other random games, but then like the
Mhm.
Lost Vikings was their first like actual IP that they released, and then they did Diablo and StarCraft
Oh.
around the same time, and then Diablo 2, World of Warcraft, or well, there's also Warcraft games. So before World of Warcraft even started, I
Okay.
guess we can start there.
Yeah.
There was Warcraft. There was Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, which were RTS
Oh.
games, kind of like StarCraft, but set in
Okay.
the Warcraft universe, which is this new thing that Blizzard created out of thin air. As popular as StarCraft and Diablo were,
Mhm.
Warcraft like brought a whole new genre of people into it,
Mm.
because Diablo, it's kind of dark, it's kind of horror based
Yeah, it's like
ish,
devil demons, yeah.
and StarCraft is obviously
Like
sci-fi.
aliens, monsters,
Aliens,
yeah.
exactly. So I think Warcraft pulled in a lot of fantasy players.
Greater mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. And then, funny enough, obviously, once those players got a taste, they kind of moved into StarCraft and Diablo, because StarCraft was really Blizzard's first like esport type
Mhm.
thing, and that took off, especially over in Asia. StarCraft is still so insanely popular in like South Korea, especially. I think.
Right. Well, yeah.
It's so dope. It's so
I
dope.
feel
The
like-
scene over there is insane.
Okay, as a South Korean, like if we were ever not number one in StarCraft, it would be like a devastating blow
Yeah,
to like the
exactly.
ego. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
it's like an all-American baseball team going to
Yeah.
Japan and losing,
Exactly. Yeah.
which has
exactly.
happened actually. Now that I think about it, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But
it happens. It's okay. Yeah,
it happens. It's fine.
Oopsies.
But yeah, so Blizzard's footprint just exploded with those 3 games.
So people were really excited for World of
World of
Warcraft
Warcraft,
because they're
yep.
excited after the release of 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
And then like yo, World of Warcraft is coming out. I can just
Yeah.
I'm trying to visualize the hype.
The
right?
hype. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the hype back then is so muted too, because obviously there was no social media, and there were MMOs that were already out. There was RuneScape, obviously. There was Eve. Eve came out before.
Eve 2003.
Yeah, so yeah, Eve had just come
Yeah,
out
that's
just
an
before
old-ass
World of
game.
Warcraft. But I think Blizzard too had kind of like they were relatively pioneering on like online connectivity, because like StarCraft and Diablo had chat rooms. They had like custom games that you could join and stuff
I
like
forgot
that.
about that. Yeah, that was a big
Yeah.
part of it, right? Like
Yeah,
the online
that's where the Battle.net like brand
Oh,
came
yeah.
from, and now it's just like synchronous with Blizzard. It's their launcher for all of their
Mhm.
games, and that's kind of like where their whole online presence started. So yeah, it came out in 2004. I was 11, 12 maybe when it came out.
small BB.
Small little baby, and I
Small
had a
little
crappy
Middle schooler.
Gateway computer. Gateway still had their like cow pattern logo that was really weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's another
it
deep
was-
cut.
It was another deep cut.
Somebody
super
will
deep
get
cut.
it. Yeah, somebody will get
Lots
it.
of deep cuts. I hope
Yeah.
so. But yeah, so I was playing on my crappy Gateway computer that my uncle had upgraded the graphics card in for me, and I was just doing like a trial, so you
Yeah,
could get
that's how
like
they
up
get
to
you,
level
yeah.
10 or something like that. And I enjoyed it. My family wasn't in a financial spot at the time to like pay for a subscription each month, but I did get the game as a Christmas gift, and that came with 30 days of
Oh.
playtime. So that was like my first like real deep dive into it. And I was just a dumb little kid. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I died a lot. There's a lot of death, especially in Classic WoW. There's a lot of dying. Everything hit so freaking hard. But yeah,
You
so
loved it?
I absolutely loved it, and I haven't looked back since.
And that was the first time any game like that had been released, right? It's like a completely new.
People would like compare it to RuneScape, obviously, and RuneScape's a web-based MMO. There's only so
Right.
much you can get with graphics. So like looking back now, the graphics in WoW Classic were absolutely freaking terrible. But like back then, it was insane. Like there was no other game that I can think of at the time that also had online play that looked that good. And so I think that drew a lot of eyes to it. And early WoW, I think, had some of its biggest subscriber numbers too.
Even
I
compared to
know,
today?
I think probably equivalent with today, which is
Oh, wow.
insane.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure their peak, like WoW's peak, was, oh god, they passed the 10 million mark in like 2010,
Jesus.
which is absolutely insane. That's 10 million people paying $15 a month or whatever it converts to in whatever region
Yeah,
you're
like
in.
50. Yeah. Does that mean that the fan base is like the same people who found the game when they're like in middle school, probably?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, like my current guild, a lot of us started
Wow.
playing when we were younger, and like people take breaks. Obviously, people leave, come back. They don't like an expansion. They'll take that expansion off, and they'll come back for a new expansion. So, World of Warcraft, they just have the formula figured out, and they have for a very long time. I think one of the biggest strengths. So, like with MMOs, you need to make leveling fun, but you also need to make it so there's actually stuff to do at the end of the game. Like so many MMOs that have come out recently try to copy the formula, and they like make really compelling stories, and then there was just
Not
nothing
enough
to do
content
at the end of the game.
Okay.
And WoW, the way it seems like they design these expansions is they focus on the end game content first, and then backfill with like stories and quests and daily quests and stuff like that to like get you to that point where you can enjoy the end game content.
Interesting.
And with like challenging end game content, it gets more people to grind.
like grind the game,
honestly,
yeah.
If you're like, oh wow, I'm really excited for this raid that's coming out or for this dungeon that's coming out, then you're more inclined to level, get through the leveling process.
Is that usually what the end game content is?
Yeah, so basically there's different content patches that get released throughout an expansion's lifetime. So like you have the first raid that's normally 7 to 10, sometimes 11 bosses, and then a
in a row?
pool of, yes.
Oh my god, that's good. That's like a 3-hour long fight.
My guild, for example, we raid 2 nights a week for 3 hours a night, so that's 6 hours. And typically we can get, if we're on Mythic, which is the highest difficulty, we can probably get 2 or 3 bosses done in one night, and then come back the next day and work on the rest. But that's kind of the fun of it. It's all progression. If you don't get sort of any joy out of progressing and hitting a goal, I don't think you would like it, but I also don't think the entire MMO genre would be for you.
So there's a lot of different aspects of WoW that could appeal to people. So I think if I was integrated into like a guild like you are, that I probably would be down to play, right?
Yeah, so like obviously the social aspect is awesome. I am lifelong friends with probably like 10 or 15 people that I met when I was super young. And we were all relatively the same age, and like we meet up sometimes once a year. Well, COVID kind of screwed all that up, but we tend to meet up once a year and just chill with each other in person because we all live in different parts of the States, and like they've become really, really dope friends. So like the social aspect of WoW is super, super important. Most of my interactions outside of work recently have been with my WoW friends. It's super easy to do. You just log into Discord, they're chilling out, or you log into the game and they're in guild and you could just talk. And that also made COVID way easier. I think because that was kind of already like my expectation for what a lot of my social life was when I was younger, because I would get sick a lot when I was younger, so I didn't like go out and do a whole lot of stuff. I think since that was my expectation of my social life, COVID was a breeze because of it. Because I was like, oh,
introvert
they're all
life.
there.
Woo.
Yeah. Pog introverts.
Gamer life, yeah.
Gamer life.
Let's go.
Discord gang. But yeah, the social aspect is super, super dope. And I think that's another thing that WoW does really well. And they're constantly trying to improve it too. Like, so there's 2 factions in WoW. There's the Alliance and the Horde. I will not turn my hat around, even though people that play WoW can probably assume from the colors. The Alliance tends to get ragged on a lot, but I've always been an Alliance player.
Is the Alliance like the people, and then the Horde is like the aliens? Or I don't know the story at all.
So Alliance is like humans, night elves, gnomes, dwarves.
Right.
And then the horde is like orcs, trolls, taurens, stuff like that. And there's always just been a rivalry, and so many more people play the horde generally.
Yeah, horde gang. I'm gonna choose already.
That doesn't surprise me. It's fine. So many more people play the horde, but honestly, I always play the alliance because my first character was a druid, which can only at the time
druids
could only be either a night elf or a tauren. So back when it first came out, leveling was super grindy. Like being able to do the raids was super grindy. You had to do a bunch of quests. You had to buy stuff. You had to make stuff. You had to get attuned to these dungeons in order to actually be able to access some of these dungeons and some of these raids. But they got rid of that because as we got older and also as the new generation of players started coming in, we were all like, bro, our attention span is not long enough for this. So like leveling right now, like if you were to start playing today, you could probably level for like 8 hours total of game time and be at max level. Whereas before it would literally take like a month of playing to hit max level.
Wait, sorry. So it takes 8 days is what you said?
8 hours.
8 hours. Oh,
it's so fast now. It is so fast now.
So the point of WoW isn't even leveling, it's about the end game content once you max
now it is. Yeah, it's kind of evolved. Yeah. And I think that's one reason why WoW is still such a giant is because they do like evolve with players' expectations. Like if they had kept it grindy hell for the last 10 years, nobody would be playing this anymore.
One person will be like level 10,000 and then like
exactly. And everybody else will be like level 20. But
great.
That's not the case anymore. They realize that like the biggest advantage that they have in this space is the end game content.
The game itself.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't want leveling to be a barrier for that.
Damn. That's so real because MMOs, the problem is that they're a leveling game. Like the focus in MMOs is the leveling, how fast you can grind.
Yep.
It's not about the actual game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when people play MMOs, they just skip through. Like when there's a cutscene, you just skip through it as fast as possible.
100%.
Which is so sad because someone worked on that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's if you're a solo player, if you don't want to do any group content, you don't have to. You can just go off in your own little world and do whatever you want. If you like the lore, there's plenty of lore and there's plenty of Easter eggs. Like you can pick up books and scrolls that have like extra backstory to stuff. So like there's even an achievement called Lore Master for completing every single quest in the game. And then obviously there's PvP, player versus player. So people that like fighting other players, they can do that. It can be either open world or in battlegrounds, which are like 10v10 or 20v20 or even some 40v40 battlegrounds. Do you
like lose stuff permanently or like lose money?
No, thank God.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
You used to be able to be pickpocketed by a rogue and you'd lose like a few silver, but I think they even stopped that. I think like the rogue gets gold if they pickpocket you, but you don't actually lose anything.
Just anarchy.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah, it's just anarchy.
No consequences. Anarchy. Yeah.
No consequences other than a repair bill. Because you do have to pay to repair your gear, which is still a very tilting mechanic. But I guess I get it. And then they have like just like the open world quests and daily quests and stuff that people who don't want to do raids or PvP can do. And then they have, which is what I do the most now. I used to be really big into PvP, but now I mostly just do dungeons and raids. And every season there's like a pool of dungeons. So there's normal dungeons, heroic, mythic, and then beyond mythic there's mythic plus, where like you can keep progressing through these dungeons and leveling up your keystone, and it gets harder and harder and harder. I think the highest I've done with a group is a 27, like a plus 27, so that's 27 times higher basically than a regular mythic dungeon.
That's fun. You guys went hard.
Like, all the top people run like 30s, 32s, 33s. WoW has a lot of stuff. And then outside of the dungeons, there's obviously the raids, and the raids take a while. It's a lot of progression.
Another issue for me in getting into MMOs is that there's too much stuff actually. So I get overwhelmed because there's too many things that I feel like I have to do. Yeah,
that's totally understandable. It's very likely to happen when you first start playing WoW if you just go into it solo. But if you have friends or like
they'll help you out. True.
Yeah, they can like point you in the right direction. Like, hey, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to do this. Oh, well, you can just completely ignore this aspect of the game 100%, never touch it, don't worry about it, and just focus on what you want to do,
Yeah.
which I also think is huge.
Yeah. Practice mindfulness with your MMO choices.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Gamesight podcast.
What do you think sets WoW apart in the gaming market? Do you think because it's such a powerful legacy game with a huge player base, since they set the standard for games as a service, they can just continue to pioneer this model?
Yeah, I think so. Like I touched on earlier, the adaptability of the game is huge. Being able to like kind of section off the game to appeal to different types of players is absolutely massive. Plus, it's cozy. It's a comfortable game. You can just log in and waste a few hours and feel like you actually did something and not like feel terrible about it. And then you can just log off and you don't have to touch it for another week if you don't want to. But also, yeah, the pioneering of the games as a service model, I think, was huge. They found a really good price point back in 2004 at $15 a month, and they have kept it at $15 a month this entire time. It has never increased. Obviously, they make probably more money off of expansion releases, but even then, their expansions are like $40. Yeah, for essentially a full new game. And that happens once every 2 to 3 years, you know, like they can keep the price on the expansion launch low because
Subsidized.
it's subsidized with the subscriptions.
You said you've played a lot of different PC games as well. So what are
Yes.
some things you think that we can learn from the example of WoW in terms of the gaming market?
I think consistency and adaptability is the biggest thing. WoW is consistent. It is the same game that reinvents itself every couple of years, but in great ways. Recently, specifically, the developers have been super open, super transparent. They listen to community feedback. They do what's called blue posts, which is a Blizzard employee post on the forum, explaining like their thought process behind things, explaining like what they took from the feedback that players gave them and how they applied it to the game, stuff like that, which is absolutely amazing. And it's rare to see a company as big as Blizzard do that.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, like you get that with indie devs, but I think every developer on the WoW team feels like they're an indie dev because they know that the community is the lifeblood of the game, and they're so invested in the community now that I think it feels like a safer place to be.
Culture, like that nostalgic gaming culture back when
like you were playing Minecraft and you were in the Minecraft forums with Notch and Notch was replying to you.
Wow.
Like, yeah, those
exactly
old
that
like
kind of vibe. Yeah,
communicating directly with the developer type of days.
By gamers for gamers.
Gamers for gamers. And I think another thing about why their model is so good, and going back to games as a service a bit too, is it's not pay to win.
That's big.
There are some games as a service video games that are out that are pay to win, and then it makes other players feel terrible. I think the invention of the battle pass also blew up games as a service.
Right.
That's kind of the direction that they're going, but I don't know if that would apply very well to games like MMO games. I think the monthly subscription that you can turn off whenever you want, I think is
perfect.
Is super good. Yeah, because I turned it off countless times where I'm like, I don't have money this month, or like I'm kind of bored right now, or like for this past month, because my guild, like, we prog until like a month or two before the next.
What is progging?
Progression. We progress in raid, yes. So we work on killing all of the bosses in the raid until like a month before the new season comes out, and then the new season is announced, we get a date, and then we take a break from raiding. And during that time, a lot of our guildies just deactivate the subscriptions because they're like, we might as well save the $15 until the new patch comes out, because like we're not really going to be doing anything anyway.
Dude,
so I think it's just smart.
WoW is so unique. There are so few companies that can claim they have such a loyal audience that'll turn off their subscription and actually resubscribe, canceling with the intent to return.
Yeah.
Other interesting things I've definitely noticed is like the re-release of WoW Classic, right? You wrote about this in a blog article, which I highly recommend you guys all read. Definitely like a gold nugget. Very interesting look at the WoW community. That. Yeah. Can you tell me more about the big plays Blizzard is making here to re-engage y'all.
Yeah. So World of Warcraft Vanilla, which is the original game, and Burning Crusade, which is the first expansion for the game, were like super difficult, super grindy. That's when you still had to attune to everything to get into all of the raids. Everything hit really hard. It took forever to get gear, and like you had to put a lot of work in. You had to put a lot of effort in.
Mhm.
And then in 2008, Wrath of the Lich King was released,
Mhm.
and that's when people who play Classic like me referred to all of these new players as Wrath babies. That's when they kind of started reducing the amount of time it takes to level,
Oh, I
increasing
see.
the accessibility for people,
Oh, you're like,
and like
they don't know
getting
how
rid of
hard it
attunements.
was
Literally,
for us and Burning
literally that.
Crusade. Yeah, they're so spoiled.
People were complaining about Wrath babies, so I think some developers started making things called private servers where you could play vanilla WoW again, where you could play Burning Crusade again. That was like fan hosted, fan made, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And obviously, just looking at it at face value, that's straight up somebody ripping IP from a company to make their own version of a game that a ton of people were playing. There was tit for tat for a lot of years going back and forth, and the private servers just never went away. And I think Blizzard was like, at this point, this is just too much. This has been going on for like 10 years. So they were like, we're going to take legal action to cease and desist these private servers.
Oh no.
They hired a group of developers to work at Blizzard and help remake WoW Classic. Now you have an official Blizzard hosted, Blizzard patched, Blizzard maintained version of Vanilla WoW, Burning Crusade, and now most recently Wrath of the Lich King. If you have an active WoW subscription, you can just play it whenever you want.
So that's free. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that part's free. They're not like double charging for a game that came out 14 years ago. But it's a really good model, especially PvP. A lot of people love old player versus player content, and that tends to be what a lot of like the streaming community comes back to, is like, oh, let's do a classic PvP tournament and let's watch all of our favorite PvPers from way back in the day. Even Soda Poppin gets in on it. Like even Soda gets in on it, and he hasn't really been a dedicated WoW streamer in probably 10, 12 years.
I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't know he was a WoW streamer. Did not know he started as a WoW streamer.
If there is a large streamer that's around our age that has been on Twitch since Twitch started, they probably started in WoW.
Asmongold and S-Fan.
Lyric started streaming in WoW.
Yeah, it's just Soda
like
these huge streamers who have been around. I mean, that means they've been creating content for like 15 plus years.
Since it was Justin TV, which is where I first started streaming back in college. I also remember using Fraps to freaking stream. But like I was a college student, so I didn't want to pay for it. So I had like the little watercolor of Fraps up in the upper right of my screen. This is really just a nostalgia cast.
Exactly, that's what it is. And we talk about WoW. It's fun. And we talk about Gamesight,
great.
talk about marketing, talk about the gaming industry. What's not to love? Oppa.
True, actual facts. Oppa. But yeah, I think WoW Classic is a great business model. Obviously, they make a ton of money off of people buying expansions when they come out. But like, if you get 100,000 people to come back even for a month or two to play Classic when Classic comes back, it's a good boon. It's like releasing a mini expansion in between the actual like retail expansions. And I'd say that's probably the longevity for like, especially Twitch viewership and stuff like that with Classic era, is it's like 2 months, because what used to take you forever to do back in the day, like you've got better computers, you're older, you know the strats better. The race to world first for Classic legitimately ended in 45 minutes.
Really?
Last time. Yeah. Like they cleared the raid in like 45 minutes. And that was like a 10-hour long raid back in the day.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Society is advancing too quickly.
I know, right?
We're in a book club together at work, right?
Yes, we are.
We're reading the book. It's a little bit dated, but what is it called again?
It is.
Reality is Broken or something?
Reality is Broken.
It's just about like if you gamify life and society, it's like basically if you stick a bunch of World of Warcraft players on any problem, they will get it solved. Yeah, theoretically they could just devour it and like optimize it. Yeah, let's go gamers.
And that book has a lot of World of Warcraft references.
Hell yeah.
And I think that just shows that like World of Warcraft, doesn't really have to be worried. I don't think it's going anywhere because I mean, if freaking authors like psych authors are talking about like the effects of World of Warcraft and how like gamifying stuff based on statistics from WoW can improve your life, improve your work, improve your career, like that's just insane. That's so crazy.
Yeah, like it's good for your social life, especially for like more introverted people.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's good for multitasking. It's good for
Goal progression,
time management.
Yeah, like guild leadership, etc.
I've been a raid leader since I was 15, and I've also held a lot of management positions in my career in various fields, and I legitimately think being a raid leader, like corralling 20 to 40 people to work together, I think that actually legitimately helped me in like my management skills and management styles. Oh, I did. I have before.
You put that on your resume?
Yeah,
let's go.
I have before.
Yeah, that's crazy that so many people play World of Warcraft. Like, I still can't get around the scale of that. It is literally one of the original giants of the gaming industry.
Price only matters so much if you continue to release content. Going back again to what sets it apart, their game mechanics just work really well. Combat is super, super smooth. Fights are super engaging. Like, it's super enticing. Like, it's exciting enough that like you want to grind to get to that point. And it's like beating an end game boss in like a normal RPG, but you get to do it every single week, and every single week you get a different chance of different types of loot and stuff like that. It's super, super satisfying, and they put so much focus on the end game that I think it kind of gets rid of the mundane, or even makes the mundane that does exist less mundane, because you can just do what you want at the end and get the kill the big boss, get the big loot, look at your item level increase, and be happy.
Number go up.
Number go up.
Friends. Yeah.
As Ludwig likes to say, bigger number, better person.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Maybe let's try to come up with some sort of big brain conclusion here. Whether you're a consumer, you're a fellow gamer, or whether you're like a developer, I think there's definitely a lot to look at when it comes to World of Warcraft, and there's a lot to learn. Whether it's like the business model or how to create good content, have good marketing beats, good event beats. I've definitely learned a lot today about World of Warcraft. Thanks to you.
I'm glad I could be your sage.
Yeah. And just goes to show, if you ever want to run a campaign with us at Gamesight, we know MMOs. Yeah, we know gaming.
We know MMOs like the back of our hand.
Games as a service. We grew up with this stuff. So, or if you're like a Freddy Fish fan, just like us, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Games as a service and software as a service, they just mesh really well. And we're software as a service. So that makes sense.
Exactly. Damn. Bars, Anthony. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me.
It's the Gamesight Podcast.